So I'm going to start off with a little bit of a different story. I know you guys have been hearing a lot about kind of entrepreneurial rules and the startup mentality, but I want to go into an entrepreneur's story that started when I was 14. So 5 years ago, my friends and I organized a meeting to discuss what we thought was a really reasonable goal. We had learned about the issue of child sex trafficking in the Philippines and had committed to donating $5,000 to a rehabilitation center for sexually exploited youth in the Philippines. And though our parents told us we were crazy, we decided that the best way to do this was to hold a yard sale. So we collected everything we could from members in our community, and we raised $6,500 in one day, right? So it was a pretty epic yard sale, and we had another one, and then we had a dinner, and by 2007, we had actually raised $35,000 for that rehabilitation center. And by this time, we had become much more knowledgeable about other organizations in our cause space, and we realized that every organization in our space was really focused on rescue and rehabilitation in Southeast Asia and South America, and that there were no organizations that focused on combating the child sex trade in the United States. And we kept asking ourselves one question. We said, if the average age of entry into prostitution in the United States is 13, and we're 14, why hasn't anyone ever talked to us about this issue? So in 2008, we decided to shift our mission, and we became the first organization dedicated to combating the child sex trade in the United States by harnessing the power of teenagers. It allowed us to focus on preventing our generation from becoming future victims and abusers in the child sex trade. So the word Minga means the coming together of a community to work for the betterment of all in Quechua, which is an indigenous language of Ecuador. It's not an acronym. And to date, we've raised about $110,000 to educate and empower some 10,000 young people in the United States. So little did I know that Minga was actually my entrance into social entrepreneurship. And of course, I cared about our mission, but I also became quite obsessed with the process of our work. And I loved the perpetual challenge that I faced every day and the unpredictability of what we were doing. And through Minga, I became involved in two other organizations, DoSomething.org and Ashoka's Youth Venture. And I met 300 other young people just like me who were pretty obsessed with other causes, everything from environmental action to animal rights to providing whole nations with access to clean water. So I was pretty excited, and I began to appreciate the extreme power of one young social entrepreneur. Let alone when you put hundreds of us in a room together, I quickly figured out that the collective power of a group of us could really drive our entire generation forward. Young social entrepreneurs are network nodes connecting diverse groups of their peers and teaching our generation that we could actually mobilize entire communities as agents of change. I realized that my network of young social entrepreneurs would soon earn fellowships at organizations like TED and Ashoka and Echoing Green and the White House, just to name a few. But while in college, these talented leaders who had spent years honing their skills at building their own organizations had no way to monetize those skill sets or to create economic value. So I set out to provide a means for these networks of college student social entrepreneurs to monetize their skill sets by connecting leading brands to millennials. I looked to for-profit and nonprofit organizations that were engaging young people by connecting brands that were leading innovation and entrepreneurship with millennials and their purchasing power. Brands like State Farm Insurance and DoSomething.org regularly incorporated young people primarily into their grant-making review processes. But beyond supporting foundations, those brands also look to young people for support in their recruiting and marketing functions. My startup, Brightco, leverages the talent and networks of the world's top young social entrepreneurs in order to support leading brands in these opportunity areas. By engaging young social entrepreneurs in foundation application review, recruiting pipeline development, and cause marketing campaign design and implementation, Brightco offers brands a high-touch approach to harnessing the purchasing power of the millennial market. So I've spent my last 2 years building and leading organizations while being a full-time student at Harvard College. But I want to step back for a minute and ask you to recall your college experience. All of my entrepreneurial ventures have come out of the need to solve problems. Minga came from a group of teenagers frustrated by the fact that by age 14, we had never heard about an issue that was affecting teenagers who were 13 and younger. So now, from seeing a non-optimal education model for young entrepreneurs, I'm inspired to build a university. I would choose to attend Harvard again because the people that I've garnered in my 2 years there are incomparable. But Harvard's provided me with the problem framework from which I intend to build my next vision. The problem Harvard spotlights is that its own education model is outdated and is no longer preparing students to lead their next generation. Harvard recently launched its innovation lab, the iLab for short, to encourage university-wide collaboration around innovation. While the iLab is a public step in the right direction, Harvard as an institution still lacks real commitment to teaching entrepreneurship and innovation to its students. Harvard Business School has begun to build a curriculum around innovation and entrepreneurship, but it operates largely in isolation and actually prevents Harvard College students from taking any courses there. Many students at Harvard participate in student groups or micro-startups, but few students actually participate in real-world startups full-time. The primary goal of a liberal arts education is to teach students to be strong, well-rounded thinkers. I've been particularly disruptive at Harvard because I've asked my peers to consider if their education has provided them with the best opportunity through which to develop their critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills. For the majority of Harvard students, the current Harvard education model suffices. It offers rich academic discussion, challenging contexts for problem solving, unpredictable coursework, and opportunities to engage with top faculty and students. But for a select few students who have already had engaging opportunities outside of the classroom to practice the persuasive thinking, speaking, writing, and problem-solving skills that Harvard students hone in class after class, the Harvard education lacks the fast-paced thinking that the entrepreneurial ecosystem outside of Harvard so continually nurtures. So Peter Thiel recognized an opportunity to design a program for the bored few. The Thiel 20 Under 20 Fellowship awards 20 students under 20 with $100,000 to stop out of school for 2 years to work on something entrepreneurial. Thiel's fellowship has a technological bent, and in its 2 years of existence has developed a reputation for selecting science-minded genius kids. But Thiel opts out entirely, telling society that our university system is beyond repair. And in doing so, Thiel asks his fellows to sacrifice the tremendous networks, resources, and brands that our universities have to offer. Reflecting on my time at Harvard, I'm most thankful for the people I've met. So as I began conceptualizing an educational experience that would enable students with the potential to be entrepreneurs to discover that potential, develop ideas, and build enterprises, I knew that ensuring students could immerse themselves in the networks of top-tier universities would be essential. My most precious and scarce resource at Harvard has been my time. A university for student entrepreneurs would have to allocate time differently, minimizing opportunity cost while still allowing students to interact with their peers and creating a course schedule that would sound somewhat reasonable to very traditional universities. Students would spend at least 30 hours per week building their enterprises and would be matched with several mentors. Students would still have the opportunity to engage with their networks at top universities and would be able to cultivate those networks and resources that academic institutions have to offer. Student mentors would be alumni of their hub universities and would come with relevant industry experiences. Engaging famous alumni mentors will help to gain the buy-in of partnering alumni or of partnering universities. So at our university, students' education will be free. Our university will invest in their companies, asking that years later, when our students are millionaires, they repay our school with whatever dollar amount they feel their educational experience was worth. Students will take their core liberal arts education curriculum at their hub campuses, enabling them to engage with their carefully curated students and faculty at their hub school. Finally, students will live on their hub campuses, allowing them to still have that typical college social experience and to form meaningful friendships. Entrepreneurs are never motivated purely by financial gain. Always some unreasonable vision and a need to prove an impossible goal attainable drives the entrepreneur to achieve. This hybrid university will help to inspire young people who proven entrepreneurs identify as having the drive, passion, rigor, and talent to have their epiphany moments. Those moments of realization that they need to spend every day working towards doing something that everyone around them tells them they cannot or should not expect to be able to do. Entrepreneurs become obsessed with proving the impossible not only possible, but valuable to society. If we can cause that trajectory-changing moment and then nurture the idea and the enterprise that transpires from it over a 4-year period, we can cultivate the next generation of leaders of entrepreneurs. But before I pitch this hybrid model to Stanford and Columbia and Harvard, elite universities existing within already established entrepreneurial ecosystems, we have to more thoroughly celebritize the young entrepreneur in hopes of making the student entrepreneur indispensable in terms of brand association. But what does that mean? We have to demonstrate that these young people are so consistently successful and newsworthy, and that they generate exponentially more economic value for society in comparison to their peers taking typical after-Ivy jobs, that being a part of their narratives is essential to maintaining elite institutional status. The question then becomes, how do we build brand equity for young social entrepreneurs such that different pillars of society, institutions, private sector corporations, government entities, and the public at large seek association with these young people? Well, how are celebrities celebritized? Social capital. We can build social capital in several ways. First, through networks of association. Brightco, my startup, positions young entrepreneurs alongside industry executives, yielding intermixed networks that place young entrepreneurs and powerful executives on the same playing field. By the same logic, we might strive to create intermixed executives with celebrities and young entrepreneurs. Next, by leveraging the media. Our media is powerful at dictating public opinion. Just look at how misguided, yet successful, our media messaging has been at portraying pimps. Now, how exactly we shine the spotlight on young entrepreneurs who are disrupting the status quo and moving society forward might vary. But what matters is the impact. We need kids to grow up wanting to build ideas that solve problems, dreaming of leading enterprises that redefine industries, and believing that they possess the work ethic and the talent to execute their visions. We know entrepreneurs stimulate the economy by providing jobs, introducing new products, and often entire new markets. So we can make the argument that for the university, the return on investment for every one successful entrepreneur alumni is an exponential multiple of that his or her peers might generate. The banker alumni or the doctor alumni is without a doubt adding value to society by fulfilling a needed job function. But he or she is not creating the economic opportunity on an even comparable scale to that an entrepreneur is creating. To strengthen this argument, entrepreneurs must focus more on storytelling. We have to document our data and present it in a user-oriented way, such that key target members of our audience can easily understand our impact. If we want to inspire entrepreneurial ecosystems to emerge, we need to intentionally motivate the entrepreneur capable to be disruptive, fearless, relentless, unreasonable entrepreneurs. Thank you.